This is Orson Welles behind the camera. A camera focused for this program on a fairly out-of-the-way and little-known corner of Europe, the land of the Basques. We've placed this camera directly on an international border. Over on that side is the ancient kingdom of Navarre, and there, where the low Pyrenees start ambling down to the sea, is France. It's still pretty heavily guarded up here, and for quite a time after the war in Spain, this border was closed, tight, a sort of miniature iron curtain. At least that was the theory. But in war or peace, old times are new to the people who actually live up here. This border has always been more of a theory than a fact. A theory of the French and Spanish governments, whose vigilant customs officers patrol it. No, the people who live here are neither French nor Spanish. They're Basques. And the rise and fall of other republics, other kingdoms, has never made them forget it, that they're Basques. And that Basques are what Basques are. Well, what is a Basque? All we know for sure is what a Basque is not. Besides not being French or Spanish, a Basque is not Mediterranean, Alpine, Magyar, Celtic, Germanic, Semitic, nor Scandinavian. He isn't even Aryan. Nobody knows who his ancestors were. According to him, Adam and Eve were pure Basque. And it's true that his position is something like the Red Indians in America. He's an aboriginal. Europe before the other Europeans came along. To this day, he speaks his own weird language, a tongue no expert has ever been able to trace. Over there, in General Franco's half of the Basque country, this language is quite literally against the law. It's treason to speak it in Spain.
Really, what is it you're gaining in this very far away little corner of the earth?
A village is a village, and it doesn't make any difference what language it speaks.
Well, of course it doesn't for a child.
Not for a child unless you tell them so.
Yes.
And here in Cibourg, and probably places at home, but here in Cibourg where we've been able to live and to work ourselves, children walk out of their houses in the morning, kings of their kingdom, free of the streets. They come home when they're hungry or when they fall down. They know everybody in town. They have that sense of independence, and the Basques are independent people too.
Indeed they are. That's right.
I still think we're going back, in a sense, to what we had and loved. I don't think we're looking for anything more than all the things we want, such as freedom, independence, discipline, good education, habits which will lead them into a good life, wherever you find it. I don't think it's a matter of countries.
No, of course it isn't. Of course it isn't.
Pretty much depending on which town they come from, these future champions will be playing either with a big hand basket of Grand Chistra or with a smaller one, used in Yoki Gabi, and here it is. Chris's favorite game.
Yeah.
Yoki Gabi. Now, what does it mean, Yoki Gabi, Chris?
Well, Yoki Gabi means the game pure. They think it's a better game.
A purer game.
Yes.
Truer game. Maybe an older game. Do you figure an older game also?
I should think so.
Yeah.
Time. You've visited and lived in a lot of countries, haven't you?
Quite a few.
Quite a few. And yet you've picked, of all the countries that you've known, you've picked this little corner of France, the Basque country. Why did you make up your mind about that?
Well, it was right after the liberation in France. I came down, took one look, and fell in love with it.
I could understand that. I came down, took one look, and fell in love with it. But I think you're partly responsible, you and your family, because your feeling for this country is very contagious. I was only a few hours here, and I was beginning to feel very warmly indeed toward the Basques. And now I'm really very, very much an enthusiast. Not just to the country, it's a very beautiful country, of course, but it's the people that I think are so exceptional. I wonder why.
I don't know that I can explain the Basque, which nobody can, but I think that quality of country comes from the people, because you get among these people, for one thing, just like the landscape, and perhaps that's why the landscape feels that way so much, you get a tremendous sense of tranquility. They're not worried about the future.
They're not worried about the future. They live for today.
It's not a question of living for today. They figure they've survived everything, will continue to survive. It's a kind of sense of dignity and of pride and of a business of being so close to each other that they have a sense of nothing being able to happen to them. They consider they've been occupied for, I don't know how many hundreds of years now.
Well, they're really the aboriginals, aren't they? They're the first, there's always been the talk about the mysterious Basque language. Where does it come from and all that? Because, of course, they do here in the Basque country and on the other side of the mountains. In the Spanish Basque country, they speak a language which has no roots in any known European language. Isn't that right?
There are one or two odd theories which one scholar will present and another one disagree with.
Yes.
But the only convincing theory about the Basque language I ever heard were two. One was that it was a language of the Garden of Eden. This was
Really?
dogma for a while. And the other was...
Maybe it is.
That it was the language of the devil. So you can have your choice.
Well, the Basques have certainly been here a long time. We know that they've been here longer than anybody else in Europe.
Well, these people are proud of their past, and they're easy in the present, and they're not afraid of the future.
Well, that's a beautiful phrase and a wonderful formula. Well, here we are back where we started, up on the border. You know, it's not only the Basques. Nobody really likes an international border. The nations it divides always want to push the border back a bit in their favor, and I'd rather think the people it divides are just as soon do away with it altogether. Well, Pentecost is one day of the year when that actually happens. And here it is, happening. Yes, the fences and frontiers are really down, and people are free for this one day to move without passports, carrying what they want in any direction that pleases them. It's like a big party. I can't think of a better reason for celebrating.